Good morning. My subject this morning is around cycles. It's around the idea that here we are, for most of us, in a down cycle. And the sense you get is that it's a very sharp down cycle. And you get this idea that people are just paralyzed, that something isn't working. And what I want you to understand is this is life. This is life. Something isn't working. It's common to all of us to have ideas, dreams, hopes, and then also to lose them sometimes, or to lose the place. And then something happens which reminds you that something isn't working. And so the worst thing you can do in this scenario is to become paralyzed. It's to understand that now is a really important concept that we often lose. We think about the past, we think about the future, but then we have now, the current reality. And now is a very compelling moment for a lot of reasons. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how to be yourself in this environment, and also how to think about how to interact with others. So I'm going to go through this subject list. Introduction, a bit about myself, talk about the problem, talk about vision, and talk about growing, so you know what you're getting here. It really looks like this. This was me on Sunday, just kind of writing out some of my ideas. So hopefully your notes will look something like that, a bit more messy, and things in life are a bit more messy. Here's a bit about my background. I came from Scotland originally, married a girl from California, went back and forth a few times. I started in architecture and somehow ended up in the oil business. That seems to make a direct connection, doesn't it, all those things. So it was very interesting how I ended up there. It came through personal disaster. I actually moved with my wife and my 6-month-old child to Scotland and got a job in an architect's. I found the most creative architect I could find in Scotland, which, our architecture is pretty set. And I'd been in California designing buildings, so I thought, let's find the wild guys. And so I found the wild guys, and they hired me, and they said, we've got this old church, we're going to convert it into a nightclub. So I'm going straight to hell immediately. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I'm a younger guy, so they're liking this younger guy thinking about nightclubs. And I said, well, we'll make it all dance floor. That's what we'll do. People have started dancing now. And they went, yeah, okay. Here's your paycheck. Thanks for coming. Don't come back. I got fired. We also were struggling to find a home, and we ended up sleeping on people's floors, and I couldn't do what I could do. Everything I thought I was supposed to be doing, I couldn't do. I went to the wildest, most creative people, got a job, and got fired in 2 weeks. My wife, who's from Los Angeles, they have very high expectations in Los Angeles. At least they want to appear like things are going very well all the time. So she's struggling. My family there were struggling with what the heck's going on. Nothing was working. And so it was a downturn in my life. It couldn't have been worse. I think I remember walking back, didn't have a car yet, walking back to the house and just thinking, I don't get it. And so I felt paralyzed, but things change. The thing you learn in life is that things change. Things are never as bad as you imagine. And your engagement in this life is critical to get out of it what you want. So over time, I end up working in a business, and I start working with things. So this guy hired me out of the blue to work in a repair shop, which I thought, yeah, drilling equipment repair, architecture. Obviously, he's interested. He offered me this job. This is where we want you to work. And I start working with machines, and honestly, I'm not a mechanic. I couldn't change the oil in my car at the time. I didn't know anything, but I'm around these machines, and I start to think about things that are around me, which it turns out most people were just doing and not a lot of thinking. And I came up with ideas, and I started projecting those ideas and sharing those ideas, and things came together, and I started seeing with my architectural background that these things are related. And so I started talking about that. These things work together. They should work together better. We shouldn't think of them as independent things. We should think about systems. So I started getting wrapped up in this idea, and this idea that things should go together. And so I worked towards developing a system. Then I looked at working with the company at multiple systems, and then growth within systems. And over the years, that became a career where I got obsessed with technology, loved it. I love the automation side of our business, the things we're doing. It's a very exciting. Got excited about machines, robots. We make these giant robots. I'm very excited about business. But then I had another crash in the middle of it. And what you learn in life is it is like this. It is these waves and crashes. That whole talk that we just heard, it's that feeling of things just keep coming at me. And what I'm suggesting this morning is that you get in the game. That it's time to stop having things come at you and start awakening who you are and understanding who that is and how that applies to everything you do. Because I see your charts. I've been in some of the conversations and looked at some of the presentations. And a lot of things, process or technology, things that seem fun, but they're not answering some of your core questions of who you are and what are you doing. And these are the big things that make a difference, particularly not just in a downturn or how your company behaves in a downturn, but how you behave. The big question is us. So I had a wonderful moment in life, which I would recommend to everybody, called near death. It's an incredible thing to go through. I don't know if death is better or not, but near death is certainly something for waking you up. And being awake is critical in this process. And when you get near to death, what you learn, I won't tell you the details of what I went through, but that sense of the value of time, the value of now, the importance of the people that you interact with, the things you do, and your complete life and what it means. It's extremely important. And we lose track of this. The rhythm of life has a rhythm. You get up, you go to work, you do your job, you go home, you do this on Saturday, you do that on Sunday. This rhythm will lose you completely. When I talk to younger people, I warn them, watch out. There's this rhythm that's building in your life, and it is putting you to sleep. You want to be awake. You want to take advantage of the now in your cycle. And you really want to do life better. You want to understand yourself. So I do a lot of work in our company with leadership and developing leaders. And that's not easy. I don't usually do it with the top leaders, because if you're a top leader, I'm not talking to you right now. Because really, you already decided everything that you've done works, and everyone just needs to get on board. The rest of you have a chance, so I'm talking to you. Here's the problem. The main problem with leaders, it might just be that you are one. It's a problem, honestly. When you realize this, when you realize that we all are leaders, because we at least in this world, your experience so far, you've had at least one follower who has done everything that you wanted, and that's you. So we're in it, right? So we're in this game of leadership. The problem is, how much are we aware of what that is? The things we do in life, you can say, well, you're either a manager or a leader. You can get the science leadership. You are leading people. You are leading people now. The things you do, people watch, and they make decisions off of what you do. Now, what are you going to do with it? That's the question of this life, is we're in it, we're engaging with people, what are you going to do? Well, this is an awkward picture. This is me in Dubai. So one of my guys who's with me at this conference, we're by the beach, and I'm like, you're in these rooms, and there's a beach outside. He said, can we get some time? I said, sure, but we're going to walk on the beach. And then I take my shoes off, and then I'm walking, and Unfortunately, it looks like I might be going to the bathroom. So it's not what's happening. It's not what's happening. This is what's actually happening. So I'm taking a picture of my feet. I'm just thinking this is funny. You know, I'm in a suit and I'm by the beach. Well, so what? Well, the problem is people are watching. So 2 people were watching in particular, which made this fun for me. One was Robin, who took this picture, which when I looked at it, I went, that's awkward. And then another thing happened. We were walking back to the hotel, and there's another guy in another world from Norway who's in Dubai on vacation. And he's with his friends having breakfast. They got up on the first day of their vacation, and one of his friends says, look at that guy. There's a guy in a suit, and he's got his shoes in his hands, and he's taken his socks off, and he's walking. Isn't that the funniest thing you ever saw? And he turns around and he goes, well, yeah, that's David Reed. I know him. Everything you do in this life is meant to have meaning and purpose. And if you're not in touch with that, everything is going to feel awful. Upturns will be too busy. Downturns will be too frightening. You're going to live in places that you're just not going to feel that alive and things are happening to you. So I'm going to suggest that for a downturn, your natural sense is to stay employed, right? Does anyone get that feeling? I'd like to stay employed. That would be good. I'd like to be able to eat. I'd like to have some money. That's survival. And when survival hits and everyone has that sense of survival, we go to animal. Animal is we're going to do animal things. And so we're going to worry about ourselves very much. And we're going to do that work. We're going to make sure that I'm okay. Suddenly, everyone's a little bit more worried about themselves. Well, this happens in life. This is how life has been to you. Is as difficult things come, and difficult things come, you go into survival mode. It's not helpful. It's really not a helpful mode. If you take a look around at animals and decide that's the life you want, keep on. But humans are interesting. We have a lot more to do. We have a lot more sense and awareness. And we have this ability to actually push through things, to do amazing things. What you learn with human beings as you kind of uncover this in yourself and in others is they can do amazing things beyond what they imagined. And so this idea of striving and of choosing to do the work. And the problem before is the problem. You actually are the problem. So here's the bad news about you're thinking I'm going to say, let's just really work hard and develop our skills and we'll be better. If you truly want to make a difference, the work is inside. So the bad news for you is you are the problem. And I am the problem. And if you can get to this, I just saved you a lot of money in marriage counseling or divorce or whatever. If you haven't worked, that controlling others is not a thing to play with, because the hard work is controlling yourself. How you interact with problems, how you behave is the hard work. And if you want to lead people well, that means you're going to have to be well. That's not easy. This is the striving I'm talking about. You're going to have to work through things yourself. You're going to have to get other inputs to your life. Just like my picture on the beach, I have a view of life that everything is pretty awesome. But others are looking and it's not that awesome, and it's kind of odd. But you need other input. Your view of yourself is the worst view. In fact, you may be the worst boss that you've ever had. I'm pretty sure you say things to and about yourself that if you said them aloud to another individual, you'd be in a lot of trouble. Nobody would treat another person that way, but you say those things to yourself. You think about situations, you think in this negative space, and it's really not helpful. And so you have to choose that you're going to push through that. And that's the hard work. It's personal work. So here's it in an architectural sense. I like to use architectural ideas since I don't want it to all be wasted. In architectural senses, this is a fantastic phenomenon. So when you're building buildings, they teach you you're building space, and you talk about space a lot. And there's two forms of space to deal with. One is wide open space. So when you have wide open space, what humans do in wide open space is they generally will move through wide open space. But if you create a collected and enclosed space, they'll stay there for a while. They'll talk, they'll socialize. Well, this is a great concept because the way it comes out is that people move through negative spaces and live in what we term positive spaces. This is the secret to life. People think that the goal is to just have happy thoughts. Just being positive all the time. Let's just be positive. That doesn't help. Or I love change. That's my favorite. I love change. I'm a change person. You love? Oh, I love change. How about change like you're fired? Oh yeah, that no, not so much that change. Not that one. How about change like your father just died? Yeah, that doesn't feel good. So it's unhelpful to have happy thoughts all the time. But the way humans are made is with this ability to transfer through, to not live in dead spaces. Don't live in the negative. I mean, I can tell you when you lose a human being in your life, you'll see this with people. You might be one of those people. You go to the funeral and you're just, something's wrong. You have this no feeling. It's just not right. But some people live there for the rest of their lives. Live in death. And you're not meant to. You're meant to actually push through. You're meant to weep as much as you can. You're meant to remember as much. Go through the negative space. Don't pretend it's not there. Go through it and then live in a more positive space, a more hopeful and positive way of thinking of the world. And that's how things actually get better, is in this idea that I will get through this as quick as I can because I know for the good of everyone that the positive space is really important. So people will live well in these conditions, and if you want to live, I suggest you find a way to transition through negative and live in positive. No means no. This is the idea that I just explained. So when you hear something, so when you hear someone dies or someone's laid off or something bad happens, the word that comes out of your mouth without you even trying is no. No, it can't be right. That's wrong. Okay, so what I'm saying is, that's not wrong. That feeling is right. But it doesn't mean that is this. That doesn't mean live in death. It means just know it, experience it. As leaders, when we deal with leaders and layoffs, some leaders will say, yeah, we just had layoffs, and that's good because, some of them weren't great performers. I don't know if you ever hear that conversation, but I hear it sometimes, and it's so wrong. Because I go, good, you're a bad manager. Because you should have dealt with this some other time. This is not the time for that. The time of layoff should feel like, oh, gosh, you're good, you're all good. But we need to survive, and unfortunately, we don't want you to go. But we're trying to survive, and we've got to do this thing. And the best scenario I've ever been in was where I saw this cycle of layoff, which happens in our business, where almost everyone who was laid off came back. That's healthy. Now you're talking. Now you're growing people. You're not just being, foolish in your life. You're actually connecting and doing something with people that has meaning and purpose. But you have to feel that pain. It should hurt. If it doesn't hurt, something's wrong with you, not the person. So that's something to know, is feeling the pain is okay. But also it doesn't mean you go around telling them, live in the negative space. Oh, everything's bad. It's funny because humans love this. They love to tear down because it's a common tool. So if you think of it in a construction form, if I say to you, look, I got some explosives and we'd like to take a building down. What do you think? Anyone in? I'm in. Just sledgehammer stone for a window? Yeah, sure, I'll break a window. That'd be awesome. Then the same person comes on and says, here's a stack of materials. I'd like you to build this building. Aha. Slightly more difficult, less empowering. That's humans. Because we love the easy. We would love to tear everyone down and say, what's broken? But everybody knows that. It's not a special skill. Well done, you can blow it up. Ooh. Making a building, that's amazing. And so that's what leadership is about, is getting into that spot where, let's talk about where we can go next. Blame is a classic. I'm going to run out of time pretty quickly, but blame is a classic problem. I just want you to understand of blame like flame. The words are similar. Don't know if you noticed. You can write it down if you want just to see. They're very similar. Flames, you let flames in your house, right? People let flames in their house. I mean, you have like gas burners and you have fires and you have matches. Do you have those flames there to see what will burn? No, you have flames in a house to do something positive for the environment, to have light, to cook, to bring warmth. But you don't just kind of go, hey, try flame, see how it goes. Oh, you're burning. And that's how blame is. Blame is exactly the same. Use it very carefully. And use it for the good of people. Most people are living in another world where they're thinking that this is awesome that things burn. You have to become blame retardant with human beings, is that blame is not a valuable tool for tearing down. It's not for empowering yourself. It's not for getting yourself to feel different. It's a very careful, precise thing that should always be working towards a positive goal. It's about finding out, how did that happen? It's not about destroying. It's not about assuming who wins, who loses. It's a really great method, but you can work in this space well and create a better environment. Doesn't mean saying no blame is great, that's easy, but some things go wrong, you have to understand them, so use it carefully, or you end up in this kind of world, right? I think we all know it well. It's amazing how much people we work with, we can say, hey, they're really screwing up. Yeah, your ship's going down, it's great. Don't want to be there. I'm not going to talk about that. I have very little time left. The future is really important because it hasn't happened yet. Don't know if any of you know what's going to happen, but I'm promising you that it definitely hasn't happened yet, except for that just happened. But anyway, this is a picture. This is Rembrandt in Holland. It's a photograph I took. They have a statue of Rembrandt looking at a painting of himself in the future. And I just thought, yeah, that doesn't happen. So if it's not happened, just make a decision now. It's going to be better because it hasn't happened. Plan on better and you'll do better things. You'll be amazed. Planning on the negative, yeah, it comes. But it's all about creating a future that people want to be behind and becoming followable. So think about it that way. As you work on your personal challenges, as you work on yourself and you get other inputs outside of yourself, and I suggest you do that, people who tell you the truth about yourself, people will start following. And you won't need to be their boss. As I work with leaders, one of the problems you have is their worst nightmare is they get the power they think they should have. Now I can make them obey. What a nightmare. The best thing you do to train leaders is give them some way to make people follow them where they have no authority and they have no reason to follow them. It's the only place, because honestly, leaders, the only way you know a leader is followers. I'm sorry, if it's title and you force people to do things. If you haven't learned how to get people to follow you, because you're going somewhere good, you're going to have a problem. So this is kind of the why you do the work on yourself. Blind vision. So most vision, I love the retrospect of success. Love it, love it. It's the loneliest place in the world where everyone did everything themselves, and they had this idea early. They named it, and they did it. Everyone has it, except those who are starting, who then have a blind vision where they kind of have an idea and they set some targets and goals and things don't work out and it adjusts, and that's the reality that no one talks about. The reality is vision is a thing that I have a lot of sense of where things are going. I mean, it's something that I do bring to the table, but it's not crisp, clear, and it's an adjustable approach. So vision involves trying to explain to people unclear prizes. In other words, getting this is where we're going, this is what we want, and then you kind of go, well, kind of this way as things adapt. But this adaptive approach, it's getting this idea of we're going in a good place, this is kind of the picture I have, and don't be afraid of being honest with people. This is where we are. And we know this is right, and if it's not, we're going to adapt, and we're going to be very flexible. And that's how you do downturns. Momentum is critical. So this is the problem with a downturn like the one we're seeing. People stop moving. It's your worst nightmare. Try steering a car while it's not moving. That's a really good idea, isn't it? That's why you get up from the pain of the difficult situation, and you do what George Bush did here yesterday and explained. He said, you just have to be up. You have to take it. It's awful, and we're going to take you somewhere, and you move. And it doesn't even matter if it's the right direction. You'll spend hours wondering, is this the right direction or is this? Move. If you don't move, nothing's happening. You can't steer. So start your momentum. Waiting for perfect vision and perfect views of things that change it's a dead game. So you want to stay alive, and you want to keep people moving, get excited about life, and bring it to the table. Failing forward, this is one of my favorite little stories I like to tell. Has anyone ever seen a baby before? If you haven't, I got a picture this time because I had a crowd like you who hadn't seen babies. There was like 6 hands. It was amazing. So yeah, these are little humans. So if you've seen a baby walk, it's one of the most wonderful things. You know, this little creature that if it's your baby, even worse, and it's crawling. And so, my daughter, I'm in Scotland, and she's crawling, and then you can see it's starting. She's going to walk. She's going to walk. Here it comes. And she gets up, and she's kind of walking, and not very well, but she's stumbling, and then she falls. You stupid baby! What a stupid baby. What's wrong with my baby? Other babies walk. My baby's broke. Have you been through this? Maybe it's just Scotland, I don't know. No, it doesn't happen. That's how we treat ourselves when things don't go well. That's exactly how we treat ourselves. It's best to think of babies or families or things that you can relate to more readily to understand life things, but you would never talk to a baby that way. Yet when things don't go right, you talk to yourself that way. I knew it. I'm just such an idiot. I can't find my keys. That's my favorite one. Like, why? Why am I so stupid? It's just keys. You should remember where they are. We never talk that way, but see it as a progression of learning. Learning is a form of failing, so you're going to have to get comfortable with that idea. Grow away. So I'm going to take you a bit into this. The cycles, up cycle, down cycle, it's all a cycle, and it all has momentum, and momentum is important. Plan up in general. If you're in oil and gas, you're pretty lucky because we may have the only business in the world that has constantly grown to this date without really stopping from a production level. We still have a very low-cost energy source that has changed the planet. If you don't understand that, you need to do some homework, because the idea that all these bad things that we do, which have brought us plastics and moved us all over the world and changed everything, allowed people to live better lives all over the world by bringing them energy at a low cost and readily available manner, it's fantastic. So if you're in that world, at least from a vision standpoint, we did our vision planning. We kind of set everyone a 10-year goal and said, okay, look at your business over 10 years. Here's kind of where we think we'll be. Freaked them out because we were about to come into a downturn. The best thing you can do is have people understand this doesn't last forever. So have a view of where you want to be, because if you're going to go down knowing that you're coming up. It's really important. So planning up is just a general idea, and if you don't have an up view, find one, because then nobody wants to hire someone whose view is going down. I actually was in a joint venture board where the president came in with 6 years of loss. Costs you lots of money. You're like, awesome. Where's the next guy? No, nobody's interested. You've got to find a way to be out of the hole. You've got to use the downturn as a growth engine. So when you look at it, you're going to do in the upturns and you're going to learn in the downturns. It's going to be an intense time of creating your strategies for upturns. It's not complex. You know what's next. The problem is with strategy is this. You see here that word eat. So this is how I describe strategists. If you're from the US, you'll understand this well. But you get told, save for college for your kids, right? So we got strategists, and man, are they saving for the kids. They're saving so much money for college that they forgot to feed the children. It's a thing about people. They need to eat. And people do this in business all the time. I've got a great strategy. Well, how are you going to eat today? This is really important. If you want to be spending your downturn thinking about growing in the upturn, you better have some cash. It's just how it works. Saving, investing, having cash, and having a plan. It's the same as life. As things come at you, you better be ready. Sorry if you're all into credit card things, but apart from you guys, which is everybody, getting out of debt is critical. It's the same in business. Have cash and you can have plans. You can only grow up if that's your objective. So think about it that way. And don't forget to feed the kids. Suddenly you'll be bought by someone. Happy people. This is the number one thing. It starts with you learning to be happy. No one, your best boss, imagine them. They were happy. They were enjoying life. That's why they were your best boss. You couldn't believe how calm they were. I can't believe how easygoing they were. Yeah, they were strong, but they were happy. This is a picture of the video studio. I have a full-time storyteller in our company. I'm sure you all do. This guy was an engineer who wrote music and made videos. I've taken him to Hollywood before, and they've gone, wow, one guy. One guy does that. Incredible. But it's about finding what people love. Now, he might not make it in the long run. He might in our company, but he found what he loves, and he does amazing work. Amazing work. You will be jealous because you will pay millions for this somewhere. One guy does it. Give him all the toys he wants. Saves me money every day, but does awesome work. This is the game, finding what people love and getting them to it. I had one guy, he was a brilliant technical engineer guy, and he was trying to get promoted, and he said, I don't get promoted. And I said, well, I'm not promoting you because you don't love this. And he was like, what do you mean I don't? I was just being your friend. I was telling you how I felt. And I said, no, but you don't love it. And he was really angry. And then about 6 months later, I left, and he goes, I hate that you aren't in my group. And I said, no, you liked me, and we worked well together, but you don't love this. Then he left the company to take on Aid Sudan, which he has done for, 7 years now. Awesome. 6 months later, called me and said, thank you. I could have used him for his skills, but I didn't because he didn't love it. Make happy people. Start with yourself, get on with everybody else, and you will love this life. Eat your broccoli. It's not all great. You have to get the children to eat the broccoli, so it's the wax on, wax off theory. If you're going to grow humans, you're going to have to get them to eat broccoli, and they're not going to want to do it. So there's a skill, happy people, but you do have to eat your broccoli. So learn what your broccoli is. And when I say broccoli, I mean it's something you need to survive. This is where the personal learning comes in. You need it to survive. Eat it. Learn what it is. But if it's something that is not helping, work out what's broccoli that I need to do and where's my weaknesses that I can't fix. I need to compensate here. I need to eat the broccoli here. Grow a full person. So it's not all just be happy. Happiness involves challenge. It involves putting stress on where stress should be and growing human beings and making it your whole deal. So here's the mistake you all make. This is my kind of closing point. People don't do the job. I see this all the time with my leaders, and I tell them, stop it. You're getting them to do the job. And now they know what that means now, but most people would go, isn't that what I was supposed to be doing? No, it's not what you're supposed to be doing. If you want to do great things in this life, do not use people to get things done. If you're in a people-growing business, you use the job to grow the person. Give them experiences they need, not because they're going to be great to start with, because they're going to become great. And let them know you expect great things, and you will get great results, and it results in happy people. But if you're a use person and you want to use people to get ahead, they're not going to follow you. If you're interested in their personal growth, they'll follow you for the rest of their lives. They'll want to go where you're going because you're about them and not yourself. Communication, 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 not telling people what you think, but actually learning where you're weak, where you're in pain, sharing it, being open with your life with others, and telling them what you need. Talk about your weakness. Learn to talk about, if you haven't learned to talk about your weakness as a point of great bravery, find it. Your weaknesses are not a problem if you have strengths, but we easily go and work our weakness and worry about our weakness and protect our weakness, when what you're meant to be doing is find your strength, grow your strength, deal with the weakness. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be trying to hide or I don't want to get caught in a weak area. You want to go, here's my strength. This is what I got. You know what I need? someone who's not like that, and we can do great things. But you've got to communicate, you've got to listen, you've got to hear what people think about you, you've got to learn how to communicate, how to help people understand you, and more importantly, for you to understand them. And you will do really great. My favorite is downturns, personally. I love them because we get serious about what we're doing. We get focused. And people want to hear great new ideas, and I love great new ideas. And this is the time. So hope you enjoyed that little talk around the subject. Thank you.